This is Steve Yasko, the Executive Director of the Bromo Arts and Entertainment District, and your host for Bromo TV. Today we're speaking with one of Baltimore's young and most exuberant artists, Alex Dukes. Alex grew up on Long Island with her mom, dad, 2 brothers, and 4 sisters. The art bug bit her early, and she became serious about fine art during an AP drawing course in high school. Since then, she's evolved to colorful, personal narratives centered on her and her family and her Trinidadian American heritage, as well as issues of femininity and blackness. She studied painting at MICA and received her BFA in May of 2017. Thanks for speaking with us today, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So when did you know you wanted to be an artist?
Like you said, in high school, I would do a lot of other activities like running and singing, but it wasn't until I took a class my junior year with my teacher that she really shifted me to.
So you mentioned singing. Is that a big part of your family?
Yeah. My dad's a singer, and my family play instruments, and it's just like the Jackson 5 plus 2.
I know in a lot of families that sing, especially in their homes, they tend to be the center of the neighborhood. People like to stop by and listen to that. Was that your experience?
Yeah. I think a lot of people would roll in and get a glimpse. And I actually do gigs with my dad still and my sister on weekends. So it's kind of like...
What kind of music?
All kinds. I think it's like for weddings and different things, so you have to know a large selection.
How did it sort of click that being an artist was something you could do as a profession, not just a hobby? How did you know that you wanted to make a living at being an artist?
I don't know. It just felt right. It was. I was understanding a lot with what my teacher would show us with the different media, and I got more interested in portraiture, and we did a little study on that, and I guess it just grew and trying to understand more of the body.
So the one thing that jumps out when you look at your work, and you mention it really, are hands and feet.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're attached to bodies, and sometimes they're just kind of come into the frame of your canvas.
Yeah.
How did they get there? What's with the hands and feet?
I don't know. I kind of always had it where I was interested in like extending and like showing touch, or my definition of touch, and then it wasn't until thesis I kind of realized that it was my sort of definition of memory, or like interacting with my family, or kind of like me experiencing the moments that I'm talking about in the different paintings.
So hands and feet kind of they're how we experience the world.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people would say it's the eyes are the windows to our experiences,
right.
but hands and feet are more tactile.
Yeah, and I think it comes up a lot with doing hair and like just being, experiencing life and my sort of history through touch.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking about how I make meatballs and how it's like when you watch the videos on Facebook and they mix meatballs using in a bowl with a spoon, and I'm like, no, you put your hands in there.
Right. And the same with making like a lot of Trinidadian foods. It's very hands-on. Hands-on, yeah.
What does your work say about your Trinidadian heritage? What is it that remains true? What do you want people to know about it?
I guess very like lively and vibrant, and I think with my colors I try to show what I would say noise, or just like the feeling of being around. It's very active, like with a lot of energy. Celebratory, I guess, the whole culture. So,
is it loud around your house?
Oh yes. Yeah, and always music going, and always very energetic.
What's a typical Sunday afternoon at your house?
Probably learning music, or my dad, going over songs, my little brother, jamming on the guitar, my sister singing also in the room, and then me and my mom kind of starting dinner, and my nana coming in and also joining, and then my dog. So just a lot of noise.
The writer Tim O'Brien had a big influence on you, and he wrote short stories, and one collection, The Things They Carried, seemed to be important to you. How so? What's that all about?
Yeah, I read it, I think, my junior year in college for a course about history and memory, and I think it stuck with me, going through the different stories and how like the perspective would change, or like the whole narrative or the idea of storytelling. I forgot which one it was, but it was one that he was talking about all the little items, like little things, and it made me think about like memory, with not necessarily looking back at the whole picture, but looking back at the key items that stuck with me.
So you talk about microaggressions. What are they?
Microaggressions are like, all right, so for example, like if someone just reached to touch your hair, or talking about different instances where race comes in, but it's not too like overtly racist, but it's still like, uncomfortable situations, or since I'm more soft-spoken to the whole idea of like what it means to be black, or like I was the okay like token black kid because I wasn't as loud, or people's definition of blackness, I guess.
I was going to say, did you realize a difference between being Caribbean black versus African black?
Yeah, I think also there's like a lot of history between that kind of tension. I don't know, it was a little comforting kind of to know that it was like some of my history is like traced back to, I guess, Trinidad, but also I guess the whole displacement. And
kind of hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It always is. You know, I think that how different cultures, and I think through art and through some of your work, you learn how to respect different cultures and cultural cues that you may not necessarily be aware of.
Right.
Yeah. How do you get them to turn up in your work?
I'm interested in kind of little signifiers and little cues, like with one of my paintings, talking about the whole monkeys jumping on the bed, which was, if you like look back, it was switched from the monkeys, from Negroes, or like it was about me and my siblings playing the game, like the monkey jumping on the bed, but then looking back historically and seeing that it was more racially charged, and it had a lot to do with like Negroes jumping on the bed, or like a lot of stereotypes and the whole negative, I guess, portrayal of black people. So then still trying to keep that innocence and like make it a lighthearted thing, but then if you look back or like look at key things in my painting, I guess I want to kind of give little head nods or like little pieces, but not the full.
Yeah, so sort of leave something there for people to fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Or just some other instances where I had another painting that was Let's Play Slave, and it's basically a game that me and my cousins and little siblings would get together and play during the holidays. But then looking back, like, why were we playing this game, and like what, and thinking about it more as a like kind of hero narrative, and then looking back at that experience and trying to figure out like why were these like 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds playing this game, and like why
all of a sudden you might go, I know why that's happening, because we played this game when we were kids.
Yeah, I think looking back at different things, or just having more of a language to kind of understand different situations, is like both eye-opening, and then I don't know.
I hear you having a hard time expressing it verbally, but it comes across so plainly in your paintings.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really important part of it. And we talked a little bit about your family, because the vignettes are oddly inviting through the use of your hands and feet. But at the same time, I think some people might sort of see a fence around them if the hands and feet weren't necessarily a part of your work. They would seem like I wasn't welcome as a viewer. But somehow your technique of the hands and the feet, especially in multicolors, they're just hands and feet. They're not black people's hands. They're not white people's hands. They're not Latin people's hands. They're just hands.
Last year, I was more interested in like not removing color, because I think when I use color, I still see them as like people of color, or more like in a literal sense, like colored people. I like that notion of kind of talking about serious issues through language of colors that are in the Black community, like with deep blues and deep purples and reds and all this, and but not necessarily doing it with Blacks or Browns. And but I also see that it's inviting for people who are like non-POC, and how it's more universal. I don't know.
I think that's what's great about you taking these feelings and turning them into art. I think they're easier to see than they are to hear.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
A woven
thread.
A woven thread, and it's at Terrell Gallery through the 28th of October.
Yep.
It's on the third floor of the Maryland Art Building at 218 West Saratoga. The gallery is open on the weekends and by appointment. Links to Terrell and to Alex's website are on our website, bromodistrict.org.